we are doing the last object in the scene, which is the water plane. So first, let's center the cursor to the origin. Click the cursor icon and press Shift C on your keyboard to center the 3D cursor. Press N to open the sidebar, and then click on View and tick the box that says Lock to 3D View. This is so when we zoom in or out, its focus stays on the 3D cursor. Shift A, Mesh Plane, press S to scale. And here I'm trying to scale it on the X and Y axis, so I cover the entirety of the landscape. Then we switch to edit mode, select the plane, right click and select subdivide. Increase the number of cuts to 10. Next, let's create the water material on this plane. Let's make this viewport on the bottom right corner in rendered view so we can watch in real time as we create the water texture. In the shader editor, Shift A, select bump node, noise texture, Shift A, add light path, and principal volume node. Also, add a mix shader, and finally a transparent BSDF node. Connect the noise texture factor to the height in the bump node. Bump node will give the illusions of bumps and grooves, whereas the noise texture will generate a random pattern and add some noise. Connect it to the normal in the BSDF. For the live path, it has many outputs. It's generally used to find out which kind of incoming ray the shader is being executed, and I'm connecting it to the factor in the mix shader. The mix shader will combine two shaders together. The factor is one that controls how much one shader is blended with another when mixing two shaders together. Connect the BSDF to the bottom and the transparent BSDF to the above. Transparent BSDF will allow to create a completely transparent surface without any refraction. You can connect the mix shaded to the surface in the material output, and finally connect the principal volume to the volume in the material output. Principal volume node will provide a volume effect on the water plane. Now let's try tweaking the value so we can realistically create an ocean-like material. So as I mentioned earlier, using noise texture and bump node will add surface ripples and enhance the surface detail. I'll show a screenshot of the final values I used to create the water plane. And feel free to copy and paste it. So these are the final values that I settled with to create the render. Feel free to copy and paste them. Lastly is to create the color of the ocean. I'm going for a more saturated blue. I like it that way. You can copy the value I chose if you like. Then you can drag and drop it into the transparent BSDF and the principal volume. Something that I should have done earlier, but better late than never. Please rename all the objects in your scene. It's easier, especially if you have many objects in your scene. I also renamed the lamp as the sun. Sun has this reflection that feels quite strong, so I'm going to bring it above on the z-axis and forward on the y-axis. I went back to increase the strength in the world shader, and I decreased the sun intensity in the sky texture. Finally, right before capturing our first few renders, let's add some volumetrics in the air. Shift A, Mesh, select Cube, and then head to the Properties bar. Under Object, Viewport Display, and then Display Cube as Bounds. And then scale it up to cover the entire scene. I fast forward this section here, but as you can see, I'm scaling the cube to cover the entire scene, which includes the water plane, the background, the semicircle structure, and the lamp, sun lamp. After adjusting, select the cube. In the shader editor, click New, remove the principal BSTF and replace it with volume scatter and plug into the volume in the material output. This will create volume in the air. Now let's adjust our camera to the exact view we would like our render to be. Select the camera icon here or number pad 0 and it will show you where the camera is facing currently. Press N and tick the box Camera to View. Camera view means the perspective seen from the currently active camera in the scene, and if you press F12, the scene within the camera will be rendered. To adjust the camera to your preferred view is by pressing G and either X, Y, Z to move the camera or R to rotate it at different axes. I'm using the rendered view at the bottom right corner as a guide to where I would like to place my camera. You can also zoom out the camera in the camera setting at the properties bar. I could decrease the focal length so the camera could capture a wider area of the scene. To be able to see if my active camera is viewing exactly how I wish my render to be, properties bar under output, tick render region and crop in render region. Next, I'm setting my sample count to 4096 as that's the default max samples. For rendering, under render properties, in the properties bar under color management, I set my look to medium high contrast. Now to render your image, you can press F12 or click Render under the Render tab and select Render Image. Last but not least is Compositing. I always do Compositing post-render. Click on the Compositing on the bar above, and if you have done your render would appear. Compositing is post-processing like Photoshop. You can still manipulate your image using nodes within the compositor. I'm going to show you the nodes I use in the compositor, but I'm not going to go through in detail because this tutorial is pretty lengthy already. But I'm going to post a link below on Beginner Compositing by Ryan King Art, where he takes you through in detail on how to use compositing and the use of different nodes. And the nodes that I use are Shift-A, denoise, blur, flare, and you can also render again for the final output post-compositing. This is my final render. Now you have your finalized render post-compositing and you wish to take it further and make your still render into an animation. Allow me to show you the process.